The CEO of GEO, the Big Dong Zong, the K-pop idol Zhongli himself, has been confirmed to have another rerun in Genshin Impact
How's
version
Mantis
2.4.
wine taste the same as I
Now,
remember?
this may come as a surprise
Where are
or
those
not,
who share
because
memory?
everyone has been wanting Zhongli. He is one of the most popular characters in Genshin Impact, and he is one of the most major characters in Liyue. So it would be not as surprising for MiHoYo to bring him back for the next Lantern Rite. Now for those who don't have as much time to watch to the end of this video, I will give you guys a TLDR. Zhongli is a must-have character for
Where do you want
every
to go
player in
next?
Genshin Impact.
If you'd
If
like
you
to
don't
see
have
Liyue's
Zhongli,
tourist spots,
what are you
I
doing?
have a few
Zhongli is a
references.
must-have character because of his thick shield, making this game insanely easy. Unless of course you're fighting against
How's
the new
Mantis
Batismal
wine taste the
Bishops
same as I
and maybe
remember?
the Wolfhounds.
But where are
Now
those who
Zhongli
share
is
memory?
most specifically useful for mobile players, since mobile players tend to lack FPS when they're playing on their phones, so Zhongli's shield can make up for the times that mobile players are unable to dodge. Now if you take a look at this graph, Zhongli is the second highest character in the game as of now who has the highest amount of HP in the game, tying in together with Jean at 14,695, right under Hu Tao, who has the highest at 15,552, which is not as surprising since Hu Tao's attacks all scale from her HP. Zhongli's Ascension stat will be Geo damage bonus, and it will be at 28.8% at level 90. Zhongli's Ascension materials will be the Pritiva Topaz Sliver, Fragment, Chunk, and Gemstone. His boss drop material will be Basalt Pillar from the Geo Hypostasis. Now his overworld ore that he needs will be the Core Lapis. 168 will be needed for level 90 and 108 for level 80. His enemy drop materials will be the Slime Condensate, Secretion, and Concentrate. Now what weapons would work on Zhongli? Well, there are actually many ways to build Zhongli, one of which is a pure shield support, burst DPS, or maybe even a hybrid of both. Now Zhongli has several polearm options which are pretty easy to get. Now for his free-to-play best in slots, the best in slot weapon for his shield support would be the 3-star Black Tassel. Not only is it easy to obtain because it is a 3-star, not only is it easy to obtain, but its HP percent substat helps Zhongli's shield get even thicker because his shield scales off of his max HP. Now what if you wanted to go burst DPS Zhongli or a hybrid build? Then his best in slot free to play weapon would be the Blackcliff Pole, although you have to buy it from the Paimon shop which requires Masterless Star Glitter, but if you do have enough of those, you can get a Blackcliff Pole for Zhongli. Its secondary stat, which is crit damage, helps Zhongli do even more damage during his elemental burst. Now what about 5-star weapons? Well, the best in slot weapon you would probably think is Vortex Vanquisher. I mean, it looks exactly the theme of Zhongli and it matches him, so it has to be his best in slot, right? Well, yeah, but back when it released, of course, back in 1.1. But now, his best in slot would be the Staff of Homa. Not only does its secondary stat give 66.2% crit damage at level 90, its passive also increases his max HP by an additional 20% and scales his attack based off of his HP, and Zhongli being the second most HP character in the game, that damage increase is gonna be monumental. Now in terms of artifacts, you can mix and match with Zhongli, but if you're going for a specific pure support shield Zhongli, the artifact set that you should be going for is the 4-piece Tenacity of Millilith for its 2-piece HP percent and its 4-piece set, which basically increases your party's attack whenever his elemental skill hits opponents, and since Zhongli's elemental skill stays on the field and constantly pulses, damaging opponents, that attack buff is mostly always there. So what stats should you be going for a pure shield support Zhongli? Well, it's pretty simple. A HP percent Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. Pair this together with the Black Tassel Spear, it will be easy to get your Zhongli to 40,000 or even 50,000 HP. But what about burst DPS Zhongli? Well, 2-piece Archaic Petra and 2-piece Noblesse Oblige will be good for him because it provides him 15% geo damage bonus and 20% more burst damage bonus. Now the stats for this set would be attack percent Sands, geo damage Goblet, and crit rate or crit damage Circlet. But if you're going for a hybrid Zhongli, where you want a decent shield but also decent damage from him, you can mix and match the 2-piece Archaic Petra with 2-piece Tenacity for the HP, or Tenacity with Noblesse, or basically any way. And for those stats, you want HP percent Sand so that his shield will be thicker, and Geo damage Goblet, and a crit rate or crit damage Zhongli. Now why a HP percent Sands for this hybrid build? I'll explain it later when I get over to his talents. Now for Zhongli's talents, you want to prioritize his elemental skill, then his elemental burst, and then his normal attacks. But not many people really use DPS Zhongli, so his normal attacks won't be used that much, so you can really only focus on his elemental skill and elemental burst. His elemental skill creates a pillar which is counted as a geoconstruct that pulses damage and gives the player a shield which scales off of Zhongli's max HP. If you tap his elemental skill, it just creates the pillar, but if you hold it down, it generates the pillar and the shield. Now for Zhongli's passive talents, his first passive talent refunds 15% of ores used when crafting polearm type weapons. His second passive talent is when his shield takes damage, the shield strength is increased by 5% up to 5 times and lasts until the shield disappears. Now his third and final passive talent basically makes it so that his normal, charged, and plunging attacks damage is increased by 1.39% of his max HP. His elemental skill damage is increased by 1.9% of his max HP, and his elemental burst damage is increased by 33% of his max HP. Now what about talent materials? What does he use? Well, Zhongli uses the teachings of Guide to and philosophies of gold, which are used by Beidou, Xingqiu, and also Yanfei. The mob drops will be slime condensate, slime secretion, and slime concentrate. And for the weekly boss drop will be Child's Tusk of Monoceros Kali. Now lastly, we'll be looking through his constellation. So Zhongli's first constellation basically makes him able to create 2 pillars at the same time on the field instead of 1. His second constellation grants all nearby party members a shield when his burst lands on the ground. This is especially useful when in co-op because Zhongli's elemental skill, when held, only provides you, who are using it, a shield, and your party members, they don't get a shield. But if you do have Constellation 2 Zhongli and you throw down your giant meatball, everyone will have a shield. His third constellation increases his elemental skill talent by 3. His fourth constellation increases his elemental burst AoE by 20% and its petrification duration by an extra 2 seconds. His fifth constellation increases his elemental burst talent level by 3. And his last and final constellation basically makes it so that when his shield takes damage, 40% of that damage is converted into HP for the active character, which cannot exceed 8% of their max HP. Now that's really about it for Zhongli. And since Zhongli is really a support character and not really a DPS, there's not really much to show in terms of the showcase. But what I can show you is how strong his shield is when put up against several opponents. Now for the rest of this video will just be the showcase of his shield and maybe a bit of his damage potential with a free-to-play Blackcliff pole and also a 5-star Staff of Homa. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video.
Stabilize!
How unbecoming. Poor timing.
This is order. Gather! Stabilize! I will have order. Gather! This is order. Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But where are those who share the memory?